turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session here with another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist or creative, head to our website, www.aoastudios.org, and check out our space. It's brand new. We're right on the North Shore of Massachusetts in the Cumming Center, very convenient. And we have plenty of services for any artists and creatives, so make sure you come check us out. And I am joined by a very special guest today, somebody that kind of was on a while back, but like not an official guest speaker episode,
Yes,
so we
sir.
had to
Yes,
make sure
sir.
we did it. And this is the one and only Tyler Donovan. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I mean, it's long overdue to do it in person. Like we were talking about earlier, it feels so organic to just be doing it in person, way better. You know what I mean? To
1000%.
save it to do it for the right moment in person and just kind of catch a wave that way. So
Yeah.
happy to be here. Thanks
No,
for having
excited.
me,
No,
man.
excited
Space is
to have
amazing, by the way. AOAstudios.com. But
.org, but it's okay. He's got
.org.
Someone else has .com. I don't know, but
yeah,
either way.
we'll hit GoDaddy up about that. We'll get that cleared. We'll get that cleared.
Yeah, but dude, like I said, it's so great to have you, and you're doing some awesome things in the music industry. Obviously, you're originally a graphic designer, but you own an indie label called Atherlace, which we'll get into. You're a music manager, so you do a lot of great things, a lot of marketing for many fantastic indie artists. You've had a good experience doing a lot of things, so I want to get into all of it. But of course, first we're going to start, as our returning listeners know, we start with the objective. We get to know you a little bit, get to know your background. So I first want to start with a story that I was recently told about you, and I want to maybe just take you back to this moment and talk to me a little bit about like if how pivotal maybe this moment was for you, and if anything clicked, because I know that back when you were at UMass Amherst, you first met the China Blue. That was like you guys met at a party. You were playing some computer baseball game, and he was playing some of his like very early songs.
Yep.
And you guys were vibing to his music, and that's how you guys clicked. And from there, he was one of the first artists you really came up with as a manager and as an indie label artist, indie label owner. So I'm just kind of curious for you, like if you can kind of take me back to that moment, like what clicked for you there and saying like, all right, maybe this is a path I could potentially pursue, or was it maybe like a little bit after that where it didn't click that night, but maybe that kind of seems like the fostered start of it in a sense.
No, it was such a unique story and funny story. Like obviously, like like I said, and for the people listening who don't know, like originally a designer, worked on a ton of like album rollouts for like local artists, and then as I got years and years and years of experience doing it, was working with bigger artists, like label artists on the design side of things, and like I wanted to be a creative director for the longest time. And then like I was in college at UMass, and like I was kind of like, I had never really been in the indie alternative scene of music, didn't really know what it was. It also wasn't as mainstream as it is now.
Sure.
And I was kind of just like, wow. Like, and anytime somebody comes to you and they're like, oh, like I make music, like primarily for people like us, like we're not like, oh, he's a SoundCloud rapper, but other people, normal consumers, are like, oh, he SoundCloud rapper. You know what I mean?
That's the stigma
that's
that
the
people
stigma around it still,
whether it's fair or not.
Yeah, so, and that's genuinely the place I was coming from, because I, like I said, didn't even know who like the 1975 was. I didn't even know, like, there's a whole new world to me. And my college roommate, this kid Jake Wilkinson, shout out Jake, was like worked at this deli shop with the China Blue with Seth, and like he was like, yeah, like my friend makes music, and he like threw on Alone, was like the first, like it's no longer on streaming platforms, which is like crazy because it's a great song, but like he threw it on, and I'm like, this was the first I've ever heard of an artist like in mass doing like pop-ish music.
That bedroom pop style.
And
it
was it was unbelievable. And I was like, this is incredible. Like the music video is directed by Mason Pimentel, who's done a bunch of his work before, a fantastic videographer. And like, I was just like kind of just obsessed and addicted to this whole world of music that I had no idea existed. I'm one of those guys who's like, when I find something and I'm kind of like, not like early on it, but like it's new to me, dude. It's like I'm diving head first in. I want to know everything about it. And that's what happened. And like, long story short, how I really got to be his manager is like one night I was visiting him in Providence, Rhode Island, because he lived in Providence. And like I took him to get Jewel Pods at like 3 a.m. to his apartment. I had went to his apartment to just talk strategy. Like we were just like, we weren't even working together. He was just like yo, you should come over, kick it. And then we ended up talking strategy of like just like marketing and stuff like that for like 8 hours. Like 8 hours, crazy. And then I like 3 a.m. I'm like, buddy, I gotta go. Like I got 8 a.m. English 101. Like, you know what I mean? I gotta go home, dude. Like, and he's like, all right, can you just drive me to the gas station and get Juul pods? Because he didn't have a car. Because like, he just like didn't have a car at the time. And then he picks up the Juul pods, gets back in the car, and he's like, hey, like I know this might be a random question, but would you want to manage me? And I was like, what? Like, and then like I was like, yeah, bro, give me a little bit to think about it. Because like I said, I never really dived into the management side of things, and also like, that's a lot to take on because you don't want to like be hindering somebody's career in that way. If you don't know what you're doing.
And, 100%.
I think that was kind of like the pivotal turn of like where it all started, and kind of just like, I'm going to go head first into this. And I became kind of like a sicko. Like I'd stay up till 4, 5, 6 in the morning, like watching interviews, like knowledge of the game, like Charlemagne, or like, you know what I mean? Watching interviews with like Joe Budden interviewing like Black and his story and his come up, and just like the maneuvering the industry and the label route and figuring out like just different ways to make things pop. So that was kind of the story. Yeah, it's such a unique story. Yeah.
No, even giving it more context about like the 3 a.m. Juul pod run,
just,
like
just so Massachusetts, like the 3 a.m. Juul pods, dude. Like,
I love it. But I mean, I think what you're highlighting though is just like, you know, taking an opportunity and kind of running with it. And I think that's a really awesome message to anybody listening to this. It's just like, regardless of what you want to do in your life, like sometimes you can plan things out and it's great, but sometimes things just kind of fall in your lap, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to like you really go all in on it or just kind of let that opportunity fall by the wayside. So for you, it's like, you know, God forbid if you didn't, you know, go head first into that, maybe you don't, you know, you're not where you're at now, and all the success that, you know, Atherlace has had, and like the artists that you're working with, and, you know, really the moves you're making now. So like everything's sort of that domino effect of just like, you know, that first moment realizing like, okay, because I can relate to your story a lot in the sense of like, I think we have very different like paths of being music managers, as people know, like, or maybe don't know, like I manage a couple artists myself now, Zafir and Mako, shout out to them.
Very talented
yeah, and I will say too, it's like when you're first, that was my initial thought as well. With I had conversations with them where it's like, you know, and granted, I had been in the, you know, music industry for probably 3 or 4 years before they had asked me, but it was but it was never something that I ever thought I would do either in a lot of ways. And it's something I didn't think I knew much about. And I said that to them. I was just like, you know, listen, like maybe this is not, you know, this is going to be a learning curve for me. But, you know, they had the faith in me to, you know, figure it out. And I feel like, you know, I mean, I'm still learning, and we talked about that a little bit off air. Just like, you're still kind of just, you know,
you're winging it, dude. Everybody in this industry is winging it to something. Like I tell people all the time, like, I know we talked a little bit
because the landscape's constantly changing. So so it's hard to not wing it.
Evolving. There's always a new platform that you can push something on, or a new guy that's coming up on the scene that has a different story that's connected to him, and has cosigns by X, Y, and Z. And like, I think a big thing too in this industry is like, a lot of people get hung up on like other industries of like, you have to have a formal background in it, you have to have like a degree in what you want to do. And dude, all the people I know curating waves in this space, in this industry, that are young and kind of like under the age of 35, most of them have no formal background in music. Like maybe like got just like excited about music. Like perfect example, KCG. Have you ever heard of Casey's playlists?
I have.
KCG's like she's the GOAT. She actually, believe it or not, like, I didn't even know this, but when I brought in my new business partner, Dom, like they had dated in high school.
Oh, no way.
I didn't even know. They're from like the same area in Chicago, like suburban area.
Oh, shit.
And a little insider scoop there. But but no, so now she's A&Ring at, she was at Atlantic for a little, then she was at Columbia for a little, and then COVID hit, and she was like debating whether or not she wanted to go back to Atlantic, and she ended up taking an A&R gig at this network music group who's like really kind of on the come up. They've got good funding and stuff, like Abby Sage. They've got a few really, really popping artists right now. Young Friend, I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yeah,
like,
that name sounds familiar.
He's got like a viral song that you definitely probably have heard of. You might not know the artist name, but she was like, we were talking about the other day, like on a call, we were just like, we're the people that are curating these waves of like every like artist popping or like label wants them to be an A&R are people who just like don't really have a formal background in music. They just like dove head first into it and figured it out. You know what I mean? And like I said, I obviously we talked off air about this. Like I believe in the universe a lot of like the best things to happen to you are going to be things like that you least expect, or like, you know what I mean? It's like making the best out of situations. And there's a ton of stuff being in the industry, bro, that takes up your time, and it's like, it's like you really got to be committed to it. And like I was for a really like long time, like for a while, I literally wouldn't go out. And like if you knew me before, dude, like I was like, I love the party, I love to have a good time and go out with my friends. And like when I found this whole world, like I said, I was so immersed in it that like I was like, I don't want to do anything. All I want to do is like learn more about this, figure out a way to make this work. So,
but that means there was a passion.
Oh yeah, you got to have that obsession to take it to the degree that you want to take it for sure.
Yeah, 100%. This is actually a good segue. I'm curious for you, like, what's your background in music? Like, I know obviously you're not like we're very similar. Like, I'm not super musically inclined. Something I do want to dive into now, having this space and having some time as a teacher. Like, I have those summers off. It's something I'm definitely interested in looking at. Like, just to not putting pressure on myself to do it, but just like see if I can potentially like really, now that I have the infrastructure here, like to try it. So I'm curious for you though, like what really was your background in music? Like growing up, like what'd you listen to? Like were you a huge music fan? Maybe not so much. Like where were you at like early on?
Early on, believe it or not, like I grew up obviously North Shore, Mass. I was like an athlete all throughout my years. Like had no kind of, like I said, formal understanding of even what music was. Like so, I was listening to like at the time whatever was hot at the party, like the Drake and like whatever was mainstream popping. And then it wasn't until like my senior year of high school, who another worker like with Atherlace's kid Lou Vidal, shout out Lou, like one of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life. Just like in like nobody even really realizes it. He's very under the like very behind the scenes kind of like super intelligent dude. Like he predicted like Fabio Foreign's like blow up. Like he showed me Fabio Foreign on this is a true story. We were in the car in like Boston Street and Lynn at like McDonald's at like 3 a.m. He showed me Fabio Foreign on a Dropbox file and was like, this guy in 3 years is going to have a song with Drake. And I was like, not that I was like doubting Fabio Foreign, but I was like, bro, that's a wild accusation to make in Lynn at 3 a.m. at McDonald's. Like, that's a crazy. 2 years later, he was on Dark Lane demo tapes. And I was like, oh, bro, like, that's when I knew. I was like, this kid's really intelligent. He just gets music, something about him. Like, and so he taught me how to, where we're kind of like segueing into this, is like, he taught me how to listen to music. And I say, the way that I say that is like, I truly believe that like there's a certain way for every other person. Everybody digests music differently, right?
Sure.
So, for me, like, I was just listening to whatever got me going and whatever kind of, like, pumped me up. But it wasn't until I met him and he taught me how to listen to music where, like, there was, like, you know, meanings behind songs and I'd be reading lyrics and connecting stories and stuff like that, that, like, I really dove deep into the music scene of just, like, understanding, like, not just getting to know the artist, but getting to know them as a person. You know what I mean? It was like big for me. It was like, I got to be, I mean, that's how I work now. If I don't get along with you as a person, I can't work with you. Just because I'm so sold on like the humanity part of music of like, dude, we're all like kids, like literally pursuing the same dream at such a unique time in the world and the space right now that it's like, why would I not want to like, you know, be on the humanity side of things of like, wow, dude, like, this is crazy. Like, those out-of-body experiences you have, like the Big Night Live show with Mako. I bet it was such an out-of-body experience for you to be there when you won that award. And you're like, you take a step back and you're like, this is a crazy moment. Like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, those out-of-body, like, human experiences is, like, what I live for. So it's so funny
you say that, too, because in that moment, to give a little context on that, where, Mako obviously won, Singer-Songwriter of the Year for the 2022 BMAs, which we're so excited about. Awesome. But, you know, when he got the two nominees and he got one for Best Music Video, I don't know if we explicitly talked about this, but I remember thinking in my head going, all right, the music video category is going to be tough. I mean, we're going up against, you know, someone like I think Bia, for example, who won with the London. I mean,
she got like label funding.
Yeah. I mean, we can't compete with that type of funding. Yeah. But I was like, you know what? He could have a chance at singer-songwriter. And I know that like sometimes with these things they can get, you know, political at times, and sometimes you have to get nominated. Maybe someone like John Glass had to get nominated for years and years and years. Bless you. Before like he even really won, which was this past year, and he probably deserved to win years before now. So like I think that, you know, and again, that's obviously subjective, but just in my opinion, but I think for him, I think we had realized like, okay, like this is a great honor to be nominated, that he's being recognized for what he's been doing. Absolutely. And I'd only jumped on for about 6 months at the time before he got nominated, so I really hadn't been working. I mean, I've been working with him for a long time, but not like as his legitimate manager. So I think for me it was really cool. I didn't think any of us really expected it, but there's a cool video. Maybe I'll put it
Best
in this.
clip I've ever seen,
dude.
You go nuts. It's like I'm talking all time top 2, and it's not 2 Mike Scarfo clip. Like,
and the winner is
He's like going crazy.
What?
He's hugging you. His mom's next to him. He's not even hugging his mom first. He's hugging you. It's so funny.
Yeah, it was, dude. It was what I think we initially just like were stunned of like how
awesome, dude.
Crazy
and it's
it
like
was
on the big screen at Big Night.
Yeah, we had no idea. And then when it happened, I think we both like he's you can see his face. He's just shocked. He's just like, what the fuck? And I'm going nuts.
Yeah, you're
his
going
sisters
crazy.
are going crazy.
Yeah.
Like everybody's just like, this is like
Such a cool
surreal.
clip.
And like I think for like probably 30 minutes to 45 minutes after that, we were just like, it was a euphoric feeling. Like,
dude, but
just
that's what I'm saying.
Just
like,
to witness that for him and to know how hard he's worked. And like, you can probably attest this with the artists you work with. When you hit those milestones or you get those successes and like you see someone that you really care about and that you believe in,
it's crazy.
Succeed at something that they've worked so hard for. And that's why like that's part of the reason why I love being a teacher. Like
It's
that's
inspiring.
it's hard. Yeah. It's a hard job in a lot of ways, and like there are tough days, but like those days where like, I have a student that really like just connects or something clicks for them and they really succeed at something that maybe they weren't even good at before or whatever. Like you see that in them. It's such a good feeling. And like, I relate that a lot to like, what I do in just my whole life. And just even with my friends, like I love seeing, my friends win and like just to see Mako win in that situation. And all the hard work he's put in, like it was surreal. And it was funny because it was one of the last awards of the night. Yeah. So we were waiting around for that.
So you're on edge, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then to see people like, deserving that didn't win, like Lucas and Lazy and different people that, so I was just like, all right, I didn't think we had, again, I'm not saying it's because not knocking his talent. I just was like, maybe he's not going to get chosen this year, and that's
you're
fine.
like content with understanding like this might not happen tonight. Like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And, but when it did,
it's euphoric, bro. That's really what we were just talking about. Is like those human experiences, like speaking to like the euphoric kind of out of body experiences is what I was trying to get at. Is like perfect example is like I don't know if you've ever seen the Rap Radar with Drake. Like so when they're sitting down with him, he talks about a little bit in the interview is like be present in your artist moment. Yeah, and what that means is like be present for those like what you would consider, not that this is like a smaller win, it's a huge win, but like the the little wins, like getting on an editorial, your first editorial for Spotify, like that's a huge win in some kids' eyes. And like, after you do it for some time, it may not feel the same, but if you're present in those small wins and like you're present in your artist moments for stuff like that, like it's just like those are the stories and the experiences that you can build off of to get to those more tangible, bigger wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and then even just off the humanity perspective, like you were talking about, like regardless of what happens with me and my career and Mako and his career, whether we, continue this relationship for the rest of our careers or if we ever go, God forbid, ever, go separate ways and whatever, like I know that we are always going to have that moment.
Exactly. But
like,
that's a huge
as humans,
thing.
you know what I mean? Just
That's
as like someone that I deeply care about as a human being, not even just as an artist.
It connects you guys forever.
We're friends. Yeah. And that's the cool part about it. Cause I know you were saying too, like, you want to get along with the people you work with.
Yeah.
Like I consider Mako a really close friend these days. You know what I mean? He really is. We've been friends for a long time. And now I think we're closer now than we ever have been. And like, I'll always see him as a friend first. And that and that matters more to me. Same with Zafir. Like we've been friends long before I ever managed him. So it's just like, for me, I completely agree with you in the sense of like the humanity perspective is so important, and like that's kind of our job, right? Is to kind of foster, and get the right things out of these human beings as much as we can. Yeah. Because artists, I feel like, again, I can easily see this happening if I was an artist, where like they get in their own heads and they sometimes like second guess, and it's
how can you not? It's a comparative industry. You know what I mean? You're comparing yourself to X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And then you got friends in the industry who are doing maybe a little bit better things than you. Or like perfect example, I have a lot of mentors in the industry that like are significantly like way more successful than me in terms of like what you would garner success is, like the buzz, people know who they are financially, like you know what I mean? And like it's hard to not, even as a manager, dude, it's hard to not be like, shit, like, am I allowed to swear on this?
No, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You're good.
I'm like, shit, dude, like, it's ass, because you're like, oh my goodness, like, this kid's 20 steps ahead of me in every aspect. But then you realize, I've only been doing it for 2 years. This kid's been in the industry for 10. Right. Even if it seems like he's only been in it for a year, he's realistically been doing it for 10. So it's like,
of course.
So it's like, it's one of those things where you have to stay grounded and you have to realize the race is you versus you. Because once you step out of that lane and you step out of the you versus you start to like lose in the sense of like the mental game of the industry. I think the mental game of the industry is almost as crucial as like, you know, everything else, and just being
it's so
present.
true.
Like,
I completely agree. I think that that's a really well said thing. And like, yeah, I just like, I think part of it is just, yeah, again, like fostering those relationships and making sure like, yeah, that like we are somebody that they can go to, that they trust to help them, you know, just make the right moves. And even if, you know, again, if not everything works out, because it's not going to, but like at least you're actively, you know, together working towards like a similar or some similar goals in mind. And again, like you said, it's great to watch the people that you care about and that you're working with succeed. And I think that that's like what is great for, you know, what we do. But yeah, I definitely want to get into more about, you know, obviously Atherlace and everything that you're doing, working with different artists. So this is the main lesson. This is the segment of the show where we, you know, we get into the meat of it, and we really into what you're doing now. And so, yeah, like I know Atherlace originally was more of like a graphic design company, right? At first, going more towards like your initial background, and then you flipped it to the music. So I guess kind of give me you don't have to give me the whole, you know, timeline, but give me sort of like the Spark Notes version of just like, you know, the pivot from being a graphic design company to then obviously what you're doing now with the indie music label, because I know like you said, you had done a lot of like album rollouts and artwork. You did one for Michael Christmas, right, if I'm not mistaken, like back in the day. So like where was that shift for you, and you're just like, all right, I gotta like make this an indie label?
So it was kind of one of these things where I had always been, when I was younger too, like always wanted to start a business, wanted to do something. So I found graphic design. Like I thought I was going to go to college. Like I said, I was an athlete, like baseball, hockey kid. Like thought I was going to go to college, get the marketing degree, like, and just be business something, right? Like that's like how 90% of athletes, I feel like kind of take towards that path. And I thought I was heading towards that. And when I was 15 years old, like, believe it or not, this is a true story. I was like, you know how you're just scrolling YouTube aimlessly at night?
Yeah.
And I was like, Adobe Photoshop tutorial to make like a sports banner or something. I'm like, I got nothing else going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's 3 a.m. I got to be up in 3 hours. But so I was like, just watched it, and like something about it, like just spoke to me, like just the interest in how like you could make things look cool and just stuff like that. So I started watching more and more tutorials. Then I started like researching, this is a viable career, and not only is it viable, it's booming, because this was at the time, this was probably like, I was 15. So I was probably like, it was probably like 2015, 2016, where like graphic design is so crucial. Design in general, like, is so crucial now. Like every company needs it. So I was like, this could be something I want to actually pursue. Taught myself, self-taught, like downloaded all the Adobe programs, like originally cracked. Hopefully I don't get sued by Adobe. but originally cracked all the programs, and like was like just kind of like opening the program every day. Like I said, I'm one of those guys who's like, if I'm in something, got to be in it 100%. Like opening the programs every day, working, self-taught. 16 years old, started what originally was Atherlace. It was like a multi-hyphenate design studio. We did like motion design, graphic design. Like we even had like videographers and stuff, and we were doing like a bunch of different projects. We'd be doing like web design and development to like illustrations for clothing brands, or, you know, brand identities for small startup companies. And so then it was probably when around the time I met Seth that I was just kind of like working a lot in the music scene. I was working with a lot of artists, and like I was kind of like getting the inside of what it's like to work in the music industry. And I was at that shift where like I had been working in also the YouTube side of design for a really long time, like a few of like these YouTube channels that were like really, really big in like the gaming space and entertainment spaces. I was working a lot behind the scenes with them as a designer. So it was almost like the entertainment, like YouTube side, Vine kind of like thing, like in TikTok now, like kind of coincide with music. They're kind of like overlapping in a lot of ways. And a lot of those guys hang out too. Like, you know what I mean? The famous YouTube guys are always with rappers and whatever. And like, so I was already deep into the music side on one side, and then the entertainment side, I was like, they're kind of crisscrossed already, and met Seth. And that's kind of what happened, was like, I'm going to stop doing the design stuff as like a company, because I was like, I can just do this 9 to 5, like when I get out of college, like, and then be able to fund certain stuff. And then that's when I started as originally like a record label, but you know, that's what I would consider. It was an indie record label at the time. And then I transitioned it recently within the last year, probably, to like, it's just a management firm now.
Gotcha.
Like we work with artists, and like I do the distribution, and I get people distribution and stuff like that. But I started to kind of fall back on the label kind of title of it, just because I think that where I really want to be is the management side of things.
Understood.
Like my inspirations are people like brands like Maverick, or like, you know what I mean? Those talent agencies that are like, extremely for the artist first and like are creating waves and stuff like that. So it's like more of a management firm now. I don't even know if I've really even spoke up about that. I think that might be the first.
There you go.
Yeah, that might be an inside scoop.
Here's a Turntable Teachers exclusive.
Because like we do like it's like label is such a weird term nowadays. I feel like because label just literally insinuates that like you either are a bank and have money to fund projects or you do artist services. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And so I do artist services, but it just all depends on the level of you know where the artist is at. Because like for someone like Dev, where we have like, you know, backing and funding and stuff like that, like he doesn't need my artist services as much as like an artist that might not have the, you know, kind of like exposedness to like resources like that. You know what I mean? So
100%.
It's one of those things where it's all give and take in certain situational things. So
yeah. Well, I want to definitely hear more about where you're at now with it. But first, I got to pause you real quick because it's time for a pop quiz.
Oh, listen.
So here we go.
I'm a big student, you know.
So this segment of the show is pretty simple. I'm going to ask you just a series of rapid fire questions. You're going to answer them to the best of your ability.
Okay.
There's going to be quite a range. If you're surprised by one, you need to take a few minutes to think about it. Don't worry about it. They get you know progressively a little more interesting as they go.
I like
so all right. Obviously you're a big sports guy. As you've alluded to, and as I actually know. What's your best memory as a Nahant Oriole?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know how you know that. You give me like Nardwar vibes right now. That's crazy. But we won when we were 12 years old. So I grew up in Lynn, moved to Nahant when I was 12. So I was like last year Little League. It was there. We ended up actually winning what you would consider the Little League championship, which you would think at the end of the day is like the biggest thing in the world. You're 12. Like, you're like, I just won the World Series, dude. Like I'm going straight to the MLB. Like I'm like, David Ortiz might be at my house, like look at like with a contract tomorrow. Like I was like, and like so that was probably my best memory for sure. And then like I'll never forget, like I showed up and I was like the Lynn kid that was new in town because Nahant's very like small, secluded, like a lot of like rich older people, and like I was the Lynn kid, always had kind of an edge, and I hit a home run in my first scrimmage, and I remember like I'm like rounding third base. This was like common to me, like not common to me that I would hit home runs a lot, but like in Lynn there was so much talent with baseball and sports, and like not that there wasn't Nahant, but like I like hit a home run and I get home and some kid was like, this little kid, this is exactly how I say, oh my gosh, you just hit a home run, dude. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, is it not common around here? Like, I don't know. It was so funny.
They were something different in the water over in Nahant.
No, exactly.
People weren't hitting home runs that way.
And then like, but that was before we crossed with like Swampscott, and then you got so much talent in Swampscott. Like, just crazy, but it was so funny. I can't believe you knew that. That's wild.
Yeah. What position did you play?
So when I was younger, I played first base. Okay. And then as I got older, I had the best position in junior year of high school ever. I was DH. There is nothing better than just hitting, dude. There is nothing better than going out there, taking infield and outfield, and then you're like, I'm cooking, boy. Like I'm in the dugout just hitting, dude. Like I was so sick. And then my senior year, I ended up playing outfield because we needed like outfielders. So I was just like, I'll just get out there.
I love it. Good shit, man. As a huge Boston sports fan, in your opinion, rank your favorite from you go from the major four sports teams around here. Rank like biggest fan to like least favorite fan or least fan of the four. Go ahead.
Rank shifts. Definitely Bruins number one. Always going to be a hockey guy through and through. Like my family is such a hockey family. My brother plays college hockey right now. So Bruins, this is so tough because it switched recently. Celtics now. I was not a basketball guy at all. Okay. I was like that kid in basketball, like when I was in middle school, that like thought he could shoot corner threes and like the ball would end up in the stands. Like I literally thought I was Marcus Smart, bro. Like it was crazy. And like this is true that I'm sorry. I know I love to talk so much. This is a true story.
No, you're good.
Middle school basketball, dude. And like I thought I was so cool. I dribbled the ball through my legs once when I was in. I went to shoot a three. Some kid punched the ball. And I told the story last night at the bar. Some kid punched the ball into the stands. Like, that's how bad, like, and so my coach calls me over, he calls a timeout, and he just goes, what are you doing? Like, and I, like, in my head, I go, this sport ain't for me. Like, and then I go, like, the coach goes, what are you doing? I go, I don't know. And he goes, take a seat. So that was a humbling moment for me, realized that basketball might not be in my future. But,
well, it's so funny you said that, you being a big baseball guy, not a big basketball guy. I'm the exact opposite. So I was a huge basketball guy. I still am. I coached till up till this year. Won a state championship in high school. Tried to play a little
you went
college
to Danvers,
basketball.
right?
I
You were on
did.
that team, okay?
I was
okay,
on,
that's
I was
tight,
one of
man.
those Danvers teams. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
actually on the first state title
They
team.
were nasty.
Yeah.
You guys were nasty.
Yeah, we were pretty solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up, man, that was my sport. I was a great, actually. So that my best attribute. Anyone would tell you that knows me as a player. Like I'm a really good 3-point shooter. Like
That's
I
so
get
funny,
I
dude,
get a
like-
lot of like comparisons of like I'm the pickup Clay type guy.
No
where,
way,
yeah,
really?
where I'll
That's
just
so tight,
I run
dude.
off screens and kind of just jack and
Yeah.
like they go in. It's just,
Just
I mean,
cash.
I'm very streaky though. So if like I've hit a few in a row, like. That's
No one's
kind of it.
stopping you, yeah.
But if I've missed a few, then like kind of get my own head type deal. Even now to this day, like for
Yeah.
example, in my first men's league game that I'm just in right now, like I only had like 6 points. I played like fucking shit. And then last night or 2 nights ago, I just had 39. So it's just like I am Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to that.
Yeah,
But
so, believe it or not,
yeah.
hold on. I'll answer the rest of the question first, and then we'll kind of like divert into that because like I have like a weird like take in basketball now. So Celtics, then Patriots, and then Red Sox, and I hate saying that because I'm a baseball guy through and through, and but at the end of the day, like the sport itself is like. It's at a weird place right now.
Yeah, they're trying to
change
fix
things.
it a little
I think
bit.
it's such an old-fashioned game, man. And listen, I'm a guy of tradition. I love the old-fashionedness of certain things, but also like not to the point where you're almost like harming the game.
Sure.
You know what I'm trying to
No,
say?
I
Where it's
do, I
almost
do.
like everything evolves eventually. You gotta like, and
You
they're
got-
trying to do it now, but
With the pitch
I don't
counter
know.
and things
yeah,
like
they're
that.
trying to, and like
But-
I don't know how I feel about all that stuff yet, but they're trying. So
I hear
that's,
you.
as long as the effort's there. But
Yeah, you got those four. So that I was
Yeah,
going to say
but-
off of the story you were saying about the shitty
So-
basketball. Like for me, with baseball, I was the kid that they would stick in right field.
In Little
They
League?
in
I know
Little
exactly
League,
what you're talking about,
There
yeah.
were 2 lefties in the entire league. One was on my team, so I was fucking straight up picking daisies out there. And then I was also the kid where we had 13 kids in the team, and I batted 13th. And I was the kid that when I'd make just contact with it, like foul ball, people would be like, "Good job, Mike," blah blah blah. To the point where it was like. I was 8. I was like in Little League. I think I was in the minors at that point. I only had 1 hit the whole year. It was one of the last games of the season. I'll never forget this. I foul tipped it 3 times in a row and then struck out. And my coach was just like, he patted me on
So
the head
happy.
and just so happy for him. And I'm thinking to myself, it's the exact same as you. That's why I can relate to that story. I'm like, this sport ain't for me.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
nope. That's
dude.
it. I'm
I
done.
used to think like when I first I was at tryouts, I was like, dude, I'm getting buckets this year. I was terrible, dude. Like it was like borderline criminal to watch what I'd be doing out there. Like little stubby Italian kid out there trying to get buckets. I was like, dude, like this ain't for me, dog. Like, but
love it.
I was
Anyway.
with somebody last night. This girl, one of my closest friends, Melissa Gray. She's the all-time lead. She's from Peabody. Do you know who she is, Melissa Gray?
I don't
Family?
know. I'm not familiar.
Dude, she's the all-time leading scorer at Westfield State.
No way.
For women's, dude, she's unbelievable. Like
Shit.
like I used to like throw on her games like once in a while, and she would just be going like I'm dropping like 30, 35 points in like college basketball game, and bro, like people be like, oh, D3, D1, D3 is extremely competitive.
D3, no,
in
I
any
played
sport,
little
dude.
Division
Yeah.
3. Like it's a
extremely
competitive.
Yeah.
Because
Dude,
a lot of the dudes that don't get scholarships because of like things like academics, they'll play at Division 3 for a little while.
Yeah, I know
So,
kids at Division 3 level that could easily play at the Division 1 level, but couldn't cut it for certain reasons. Whether it was grades, it was like they needed a year or two to get their grades up, or like they went the JUCO route because they just school wasn't really for them. And there's people that, like, dude, there's so many people in like professional sports that like didn't go D1.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So but that's so funny because like she's a 3-point shooter. That's why I brought that up. It's like she just gets buckets. Dude.
She was
Like,
just
she just
slapping
tosses
threes.
it up from anywhere and it like lands in the hoop somehow. And I'm like, that's crazy because I like the concept to me is so foreign because I'm like, dude, I
It's
shoot
not
it.
anything
Yeah,
you're
I
with.
shoot it. It's like, have you ever seen that movie? I think it's like Along Came Polly or
I did, yeah, I have
no
seen-
something
no.
about Mary. It's one of those two where the actor, he's like the basketball scene, he's like, let it rain, and he shoots it and like they pan to the backboard and it just smokes the backboard and comes off.
I
That's
think I know what you're
literally
talking
that
about.
literally
Yeah.
is me, bro. And he just for 5 minutes it's like just a montage of him like screaming like rain dance and like just missing like that's exactly what I used to think. That's what I was like. I would be like in my head I'm like buckets and then like literally it would end up out of bounds. Like it's so bad.
I love it. You southpaw? I just know. Yeah, you use a lefty. Yeah, I know.
I'm
I
actually,
noticed that.
this is a weird story, but I'm ambidextrous.
Oh, are you really?
I could throw a baseball both ways and do it.
Really?
Like in Little League, like my coach would let me like. So my thing in Little League, I was like, I threw from what you would consider like at the time hard, like in Little League, but I was wild, dog. Like I would hit, bro. I hit some kid in the head when I was 10 and broke his helmet, and I was like, maybe I should stop pitching. Like I actually like was, but my coach, where I'm going with this, is like would let me toss righty too because I actually threw righty. Yeah,
Interesting.
It is weird, yeah.
That is weird.
It is
Really
weird.
cool.
Yeah, weird.
I'm into
Weird.
that. And obviously, since being a big Bruins guy, like they made all these moves. Like, how do you feel? Like on a scale of 1 to like 100, 0% to 100%. Like, how confident are you in them taking it home this year.
100%.
Yeah.
That's not even like a remote. That's just a Boston in me is like taking it home.
They're taking it home.
But I actually like hold partial season tickets. Like it's not really me. It's my dad. Like has like a best friend who he was business partners with for a really long time. This guy Angelo Salustri. We've gone to gone to games for years and years and years, and these incredible seats. They're like fourth row, like just two of them. But like so he would just got to the point where he was like getting so many tickets and buying them. He's like, why don't we just go in on like half seats with him, because he doesn't go to every one of them.
Sure,
that's what happened. So this year I've like got the experience of like having someone a season ticket. So it's tight.
Good year to have them for sure.
I mean, dude, like I didn't even realize how expensive the tickets were now.
Oh,
like,
they're
my buddy
crazy.
Pete was like hit me up last 2 weekends ago, and he's like, hey, like I'm trying to go to. Like, I forget what it might have been Patrick Kane's first New York Rangers game. And he was like, yo, I'm trying to go. I'm like, but he's like, but the seats are pretty expensive. I go, buddy, like, I don't have to get the ones in the fort. Like, you know what I mean? I don't make, if I'm taking somebody to the game in those seats, I never make them pay. Because, like, that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course.
And they're also already paid for, and I'm not, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, but he was like, dude, well, I was like, dude, we'll just sit in the nosebleeds. Like, they'll be like $80. And he's like, dude, the balcony seats are going for $220 a piece, like in the nosebleeds, like the top.
Yeah.
And also, I'm a big balcony guy. I think the balcony is some of the best.
It's
seats in the
underrated,
house,
man.
Oh,
because
it's so underrated.
And I will say, especially
in the culture up there is phenomenal,
especially
dude.
for hockey, because I think because the rink's obviously a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I feel like even in you're in the balcony, you can still see really, really
well.
well.
For sure, dude, for sure. I think the balcony is like some of the best seats in the house, to be honest with you, and any sporting event, just because like.
You get the true fans up there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
You're people that are there to actually be there. You know what I mean? Not
exactly.
like
not just like the corporate guys.
Yeah, the
or
corporate's
just like, you know, whatever.
He's got
like,
14 Rolexes on. He just came in from like BDO Consulting, and he's like, yeah, bro, like these are like no brainers to me. He's sitting in like $4,000 seats. I'm like mowing down on popcorn and a soft pretzel, like lucky to be there in the fourth row. You know what I mean? Like talking to this guy, like, oh, I can't relate to him, dude. He's wearing like a $90,000 watch.
But
like,
you can relate to everybody upstairs.
Yeah,
up top.
exactly.
I love that.
No disrespect to BDO. BDO is a great company.
I was like, I'd say so Celtics are my team.
Oh yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll never forget their 2008 championship. I'll always remember that in my mind. But I will say, like, I was close to 100% confident. I'm now closer.
Year?
No, for this year.
Oh,
like
this year,
at the beginning of this year, I'm now closer to like 70, 75. I'm not.
Don't do me like that, bro.
I
You're
know.
the Boston
I know.
guy. You gotta, we're
I
gonna
know.
cut that.
I
We're
know.
gonna cut that.
I don't. I still have high hopes, but
I do too.
they're the way they're playing lately. I'm a little worried
but
about it.
But they gotta be like streaky to some degree. It's the same thing with the Bruins, bro. The Bruins
True,
were like 20-2 at one point, and like. All I'm thinking is when at this, I'm like, dude, they're going to be nasty all year. They're going to get to the playoffs. They're going to have like a few bad games, and they're going to be in their head the entire series.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, you just got to have faith. You know what I mean? Like,
and we've been spoiled for so long. So like, and I'm, you
that's
know,
also
this is just
that's another thing too. Is like, growing up a Boston sports fan, like. You don't even like really think about what it's like to be a sports fan somewhere else that maybe like hasn't won, like, you know what I mean, like hasn't
like
won
when
anything.
Cleveland won their first championship with LeBron, like when 20, like, was it 17 or something like that? It was just like, or 16 maybe, whatever it was. It's just like, oh, okay, you know, this is like
there's like their first kind of like in a long time. Yeah.
Anything.
Oh, was it anything at all?
Well, yeah, I don't think Cleveland had won a single.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know
championship
that.
in their in their sports history.
Unbelievable. Well, that's sick.
History.
That's sick.
Yeah.
So shout out to LeBron for doing that. That's pretty gangster.
But like in terms of for us, I mean, I've been I you know, for all of Brady's. I'm old enough to remember all of Brady's. All the Red Sox ones, the 3 or 4 that those were, like almost lose track, and then the one Stanley Cup for the Bruins, and then the one championship for the Celtics. So like, I think I've been alive to remember, old enough to remember almost a dozen of them, something like that.
To think about that
crazy.
is crazy, dude. To think about like even like Brady's era alone of like how much he won. Like, how many Super Bowls he won with the Patriots, dude? Like, 6 Super Bowls, dude?
Like it's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Like, not only is he winning 6 Super Bowls, Boston and New England as, like, a core, like, fans, dude, we won 6 championships. That's one sport. That's nuts. Like, crazy.
Let alone the 3 that the Red Sox got in that
Exactly.
same, like, little time frame, and the Celtics getting 1 and the Bruins getting 1.
And the Bruins getting 1. What was the Bruins? Like, 2011, right?
It was 2011.
Okay,
that was like when
that's
Tim Thomas, like, stood
that's
on his
my
head.
guy. That's my guy. Everybody hated the way he played sometimes, and he wasn't, like, orthodox. I go, that's my guy, dude.
He stood on his head that series.
That guy was punching people like, dude, I don't know if you remember the viral clip of like when they were playing the Canucks. One of the Sedin brothers was like coming across the net and he buried some dude. I was like, this is my goalie. Like,
I heard he had like a 96% save rate in that series.
dude, he was like truly that
96.4.
That might have been one of the
I heard
best
on the radio the other day.
performances, like goalie wise, ever in the history of playoff hockey.
In a series,
yeah.
like I think it's
He was a
no
dog.
question. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I could talk sports with you all day. We're gonna move on to. We're gonna take a slightly different. We're gonna go a little detour here. How does one overcome the hilariously awful predicament of getting stuck in Orlando, Florida after missing your flight? How do you tell me a little bit about that story?
Oh my gosh.
And how did you guys get through it?
That's so embarrassing, dude. Like as a manager, you never want to have that happen. But so what happened was, so to get into it, no, but so basically, like first of all, we flew Spirit to LA red eye. I didn't think I was even gonna get
Not a
there.
good choice.
Listen, I'll do it again, but crazy experience, dude. You're in for a thrill ride if you're doing that. Like, I get to the airport, it's like 11. I'll take you through the whole like flights like of the trip. This is like I'm on Spirit. It's like 1:30 in the morning. Like Seth's not even next to me. Seth's like over here. Dev's like 3 rows ahead. I'm by myself. I'm like, this is a crazy predicament to be in. So we're in the air for like 4 hours. Now we're getting mad turbulence, and like I'm like in my head, I'm like, dude, this is a Spirit flight. This thing's basically made of plastic. Like, I don't know if I'm getting to Cali. Like, and then like I look out. I had a window seat. I look out the window, and I don't know if you've ever been on a Spirit flight.
Once. I'll never do it again.
The wings, they say howdy on the wings. Like it was nighttime, and like they had the flashing lights, like of like the blow. It said howdy on the wing of the plane. I go, this universe telling me I might not get there, bro. I might not get there. Like, so I was like, I'm just like, I finally land, whatever, get to LAX. It was tight, and like also like everybody plays up Spirit. It's really not that bad, but like and so we get to LAX like to come back. So we fly into Fort Lauderdale. That's where our like layover was to get back into Logan. We're all just beat, dude. Like I'm talking like
that's a long flight. Both ways.
And it was just like we had done a ton of stuff. Like we had met with a few people. We shot a music video in the desert that took like 12 hours.
I actually remember
this Tulsa video.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude,
right.
we left the hotel. This girl V picked us up, who was a part of the production crew. Shout out V, she's awesome. Like, picked us up from the Biltmore Hotel in like downtown Los Angeles, and like at 6 a.m. I'm not a morning guy. Okay, 6 a.m. So I'm trying to. You're the manager. You're like the big brother in the situation. You're trying to wake everybody up. So we all get in the car. We drive 2 hours to Amboy, California, Route 66, like that famous Route 60.
Yep.
So we were there in the middle of the desert. I'm talking. I'd never been like in a situation like this where I'm watching cargo trains go by. I'm like, this is sick. Like, to me, like, I love those type of like experiences, and like lasted like 8-10 hours. I was in the music video, which is crazy if you think about it, because I'm just an absolute character. So like, so I'm in it, whatever. We do it. We get back to the hotel. We meet up with a few other people in LA. Long story short, get back, go to Florida. We're all just beat, dude. Like, everyone's just so tired. We've got no sleep. Like, we're like kind of away from our gate, but like close enough to where you could hear, like, you know, people been like group 5 boarding now.
Sure.
Like, we get there. I'm like, dude, like, I think the plane left. Dev's like, nah. I'm like, dog, I think the plane left. I went over to the gate, bro. The thing was shot like the what do they call those? The walkway things?
Yeah, not the term.
It's like a word for them. You know what I'm saying? Like the
I know what you're
connecting
talking
to the
about.
plane.
Yeah.
That thing was gone. It was nowhere to be found.
Oh,
the
shit.
plane was. This is like such a thing that happened to me. The plane's backing out of me watching this plane back away. I'm like, we're supposed to be on that flight, my guy. Like, and I turn around, I go, the plane's backing out. We're leaving. Like, we're not getting on the plane. Like, and they start freaking out. So we get stuck in the airport for like 3 hours. And shout out Mama Pinkham. Like, she actually like bought all 3 of us flights, and we just paid her. And like, we ended up like flew JetBlue back, so it was pretty good exchange there. But shout out Mama Pinkham. She came in like clutch. Like, was just like boom, boom, boom. Like, she's like something. I guess she's like wicked good at finding flights or whatever. So she just like found us 3 flights. But that was crazy, dude. Like, that was that was one of those situations where you're like, I'm an actual idiot for
like this could have been very preventable.
I like, dude, like, how does it was almost like you had to try to have that happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was so bad. Like,
you just one lapse of judgment. That's
we were defeated already, like, as it was. And I just remember looking at Seth, and Seth was like, "This is a fucking joke." Like, he was so pissed. Like, and I was exactly in his mindset. I'm like, dude, fuck this airport. We gotta get home. Like,
I love it. Yeah. I love it. All right, so you like grew up in Lynn, transitioned to Nahant. Like, what was like the best part of moving to Nahant in terms of like then like, you know, finishing off, you know, your growing up there, And then what was like maybe the worst part, like a drawback from that move?
I think, I'm a Lynn guy through and through. My family grew up in Lynn, very well known in Lynn. A lot of my cousins and stuff are very well known in Lynn. Like, we have a very athletic family that has done some really good things. So it's like, and I don't mean that as like a brag. That's just like I grew up immersed in the culture in Lynn, and it's such a big part of me to this day. I think you could probably tell just like the chip on my shoulder mentality, and like we always talk about that with some of like the EC boys or Everett boys and like Lynn boy. That's just like kind of I grew up there.
No, like I taught in Everett for 2 years, and like when you're from Everett, there's a certain
there's
a certain piece of it. Like I don't have that connection to Danvers in the sense of like I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I didn't feel like it was a place that I grew up there. I'm thankful for growing up there in some ways, but I never felt truly connected there. And like so it's there are certain places like that though,
like
a
give
Lynn,
off an energy
where
man.
you just
and you just feel connected to it in the stories of everybody coming out of the city. And over the years there's been so many great athletes and so many great just talent in general, like not even just on the athletic side but academically, and there's a history there. And so anyways, like I said, I played travel hockey growing up, like what you would consider, AAU basketball. So they call it select hockey. It's the same thing. And so I did that. I had a lot of friends usually, and I played AAU baseball. So I had a lot of friends from different towns, different areas. Like, so we had sold our house in Lynn, and we were looking to move to Nahant. And a few of my best friends had been from Nahant, like Skid Jackson Howard and Peter Doyle, who two of my best friends to this day, like lived in Nahant. We had loved the area. It was just such a quietish, like, I'm a city guy though. Like I love the noise, I love the chaos, but like the spot we were in was like really homey. It was awesome. And like, so when you transition there, I think the best thing moving there is like, just going outside and taking a walk is crazy in that place because it's beautiful, dude. It's such a summer town. It's like a mini Cape Cod, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
it is.
I'm a big walk guy now. Like I used to never be. Like I used to see guys on the street and be like, why is this guy walking? Like I used to think it was weird, but then you get out and you do it. You're like this, like the dopamine levels that you get from doing that.
Just
bro,
a walk.
dude,
It helps. Like I have a buddy of mine who like religiously goes on walks. He loves it.
It's unbelievable. Like I didn't like subscribe to the theory for the longest time, and then I started doing it, and I'm like, it's like one of those like as you come into the older years of your life and you're more grateful and the universe stuff, you're just like, dude, like look at where I am right now. Like you take it for granted when you're around it for so long, and that was like definitely one of the best things. It's just being immersed in the culture in Nahant, like and like the tightness of how a small town works. And like I have a lot of really, really good friends, like in a really good friend group in Nahant, and like so it made it a lot more easy to like love being there and made it easy to leave Lynn in the sense of like my transition. It made it easy. You know what I mean? It was tough to leave.
And then it's still not far from Lynn anyway.
No, exactly. It's right there. But I think then probably what you said, the setback.
What was like some or the biggest drawback to moving? Is it just like not having that like hustle and bustle life like right outside your window type deal?
The city aspect I think is probably like the biggest like drawback from it, just because like excuse me, just because like when you get into a place where it's not as hectic, it's not as chaotic. There's a lot of kids not really kind of doing something that you would consider creative. And that's like, to me, is like sometimes, or I used to be like this. I'm not like this anymore, but I used to sway up and down level wise of like, if I'm around people that are creative or if I'm around people that are in that sphere of things, like I'm more leaning towards that. My creative juices are flowing. I'm in flow state kind of more. But if I'm not, I tend to have like, I'm like, not doing the wrong things in like, the grand scheme of like life, but doing the wrong things of like not grinding or not doing this when it needs to be done or stuff like that. So I used to get caught up in waves, you know what I mean, of that. So I think that's probably the biggest drawback is like, it's weird because it's like the stillness in it, but like there's like a power to that. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Like there's where that can become, like you said, overpowering to the point where you're not as much of a hustling sort of like mindset, because I think the city like offers that more so than
like, it comes with the chaos kind of, like, which is why I like to be in the city, and just like that's why I'm in Boston.
That makes a lot of
weekend.
sense actually.
Yeah, it does, because like, well, think about it, when you're in the city and like everything's so fast paced and go, like that's how you live your lifestyle. Like, and I always we talked a little bit about this off camera, how like beautiful this space is and how it like gives you the opportunity to like be around like certain people and network and do stuff like that, and like you're like obviously like paying for this, like, and it's like it's an investment, you know what I mean? And I've always talked about that as like, dude, if I could, and I know the Boston rent prices are crazy, but like I was like, if I could live in Boston, I go, my productivity of life would be 20 times more than it is anywhere else, because I'm in the, you know what I mean? So I would cough up.
The environment matters.
That's what I'm saying. To me, that's like the biggest thing. Like everything is environment, the way you grew up, who you're around, who you spent. your circle is your net worth. You know what I mean?
Sure,
That's a real
yeah.
thing. Like,
It is a real thing.
And so being in Boston, I've always told people that. I was like, dude, I would pay $2,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment because like my productivity and the way of life that I would live in Boston, like I'd be like, this is like,
Sure.
I'd be a totally different person. You know
No,
what
it
I
makes
mean?
total
So
sense.
It's an investment on myself as a person. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about
that's
it.
that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I appreciate that a lot. Being from that area now, like obviously, I've, living in the second half of your childhood. Give me the beach bum starter pack.
Like, just like, what do you mean? Like, in terms of
Like you're going to the beach day. Like, what are the essentials?
What are the
Yeah,
essentials?
for people that maybe aren't as like big beach goers, or what's the beach bum starter pack?
this could be an underrated essential that people don't. I'm on the big wave of like the Stanley Cup thing, but like a hydro flask or like a Yeti or something like that, that's a huge essential. Speaker, number one. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't have a speaker at the beach, you're doing something wrong. Like, so speaker, a Yeti, kind of like that vibe that like you can hold water in. I mean, we're not all drinking water at the beach, let's be real, but like, but you know what I mean? But like, you do have to have some form of that. And then a cooler, definitely. And then also, look at me, bro, I'm a big snacks guy. You know what I mean? I gotta have snacks, guy. So
What's
like
the snack?
snacks.
What's the beach snack of choice?
All right, you got to hear me out on this. So I got a unique take on this. So I think that you gotta take it in phases, right? Because you got to get there early. You want to have a good spot at the beach because Nahant, like I said, it's a very beach town. Like there's a few different beaches, but then when you're from Nahant, dude, nobody goes to Nahant Beach if you're from Nahant. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like where all the people come to. It's like when you go to Salisbury Beach, dude. Nobody in Salisbury really going to Salisbury Beach.
To like the real Salisbury
Yeah,
Beach.
they're going to like the private beaches
Yeah.
that are so. Because like in the Hant's like a small area, so like we're townies, they want to be with the townies. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So
Yep.
we go to Tudor Beach, which is, have you ever been to Tudor Beach where the
I have,
wharf is?
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
Tudor
have.
Beach is the beach we go to. I used to live. I don't live there anymore, by the way. I don't
No,
know.
I
if you
know.
that.
I
Okay,
do know that.
okay,
I know you
okay.
moved. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to live literally right behind Kelly Green's.
Oh wow.
Like my backyard, I'd come through my backyard, and you could cut through the woods. I'd be in the first tee box.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
no
which
way.
is gangster because I'm a big golf guy. But shout out Kelly Green's. That place is like just a mess in the best way possible. But, and like, so snacks, like first early in the morning, you got to have something that's not gonna like no dairy, dude. Like I'm a big believer in no dairy when you get to the beach, bro, because it's like no one wants to be eating yogurt in 95-degree weather.
No,
or
no,
like,
no,
you know what I
it's- you
mean?
can't,
Like,
yeah.
so you gotta have something like a breakfast burrito or something like that. Lunch gotta be like a cold cut sandwich, dude. You have to have like a sub or a cold cut sandwich, and then like you're hand picking like chips and like things like that. But I'm also a big Cheez-Its guy. Shout out Cheez-Its.
Ooh, that's my.
If you want to sponsor, shout out Cheez-Its, AOA. AOA Studios.
It's also
brought
my
to you-
girlfriend's favorite snack of all time. So it's
AOA
Cheez-Its.
Studios
So.
brought to you by Cheez-Its. That'd be sick. But
I mean, yeah, Cheez-Its.
Hey.
If you hear this, I mean, we're around.
Yeah,
We're available.
listen, yeah, we'll-
Turntable Teachers looking for a sponsor.
we'll get some bread for that, Brando, for sure, bro. But no, yeah, like I just like that's my rundown for sure.
like it.
But the cooler is the most essential, I would say, because
Gotcha.
you gotta have like drinks and everything. Like, but cooler and the speaker probably definitely.
I like it. I like it. Very good. Well, and last one. I know you're a big reader. It's like,
Indeed.
what's a book? So if I'm going to the beach in a group, I completely agree with you. If I'm going to the beach by myself or just with my girl, always got to have a book.
Oh, dude, I wish I said that because that's a huge essential, man. I'm a
Yeah.
big reader now, so
Yeah.
I definitely think that's
What's like one of the best books you've read recently, though?
ever like
Or like yeah, or not maybe not ever, but like
Okay,
like in the recent, like what's like a book that you're like everybody should go read this, and it doesn't have to be like a business book. It could be like whatever it is types of books you read. But
yeah, it's a really toss up right now between the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by
Love that
Deepak
book.
Chopra.
Love
If
that
you
book.
guys haven't read that book, like I haven't even finished it all because I'm taking it in phases of like it's about like 7 laws
Yes.
of like how to approach life, and you know the law of like pure potentiality, and like it's all about creativity and being in flow state and finding like harmony and balance in life and stuff like that. And I had a few struggles that I went through in my life, like just to be like completely transparent, that like I felt like kind of like the universe shifted me into that direction of like, you know, the book kind of fell onto my lap essentially. And I like remember reading a few of it, and you kind of feel like that euphoric feeling of like, holy shit, dude, this is crazy. And then you start practicing the laws. And when I say that, like that sounds so crazy. like some people like that, like they're like he's off the deep end, but like
No.
like I'm talking about.
I
like,
agree with you.
I'm a big believer now in like alone time. Like you were just talking about going to the beach alone, man. Like that's where I do the most work on myself, and I truly believe that like that's who you are. Like through and through to your cores when you are alone. Like Sundays after, like if you're going out and partying on the weekend, like and you're whatever, you're like drunk fun or whatever, like, but it's not about that. It's about who you are Sunday alone when you wake up. And like, so that book really changed my life and just my outlook on life. Like I started to empathize with a lot of people. I think was a big thing that I noticed, man, was like, I envy the people where I was at Starbucks right before this. Shout out Starbucks. We'll get hopefully another brand deal. But like, so I was at Starbucks right before this, and like, I just think to myself is like, some of the workers in there taking my order are like some of the happiest people I've ever, from an outside perspective, they're just happy to be living, happy to be like alive. And to me, I'm like, I envy those people. Those are the people I look up to, is like, you like, I'm not saying they're not successful in their own right. Success is like to every degree is like different to each person, but like they're working a minimum wage job and they're as happy as can be. They're just happy to be alive. And to me, I envy those people, because I'm like, they got their shit on lock. Like that's amazing. That's amazing to me. And like, that's where I'm trying to get, you know what I mean? A place of like humbleness and humility and just kind of empathize with other people. Or like a perfect example is like, if say someone on the road cut me off or something, or I cut somebody off by accident, and he's angry and he's pissed and he's giving me attitude for no reason. Like, instead of being like a hothead like I used to be, firing back and like that chip on the shoulder mentality, wanting to kind of be like, what's up, dude? Like, instead of doing that, like, started to empathize and think about like, I don't know what happened to that guy this week. Like, maybe he lost a family member 3 months ago and he hasn't been the same emotionally, and like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I started to think about these things when I started like reading this book. Yeah. And like, and I also like, it's also the content you consume as like, as well. I feel like we're such in a content consuming era of life that like, when you start to shift what you're watching for content, like, shout out, like, Mike Stud.
I do.
So how
my barber is like his. That's like, he's like a huge. He's like on his Only Steves and all that stuff.
So am I. Like, I really like, and I know that's like, everybody feels a certain way about him because I get it, because of the pop rap, like college rap music. But if you listen to him, he's so changed. Yeah. But he put me onto a lot of this kind of like spiritualness, and like the book itself. That's how it fell on my lap. I was just watching one of his podcasts, and he taught. You go watch his podcast, dude. It's all about life. It has nothing to do with really music. It's all about like understanding.
He's on that like spiritual wave right now. It feels like, which is great. I appreciate that. I think it is too.
And that's where I'm
his
at.
music's
right
getting better because of it, in my opinion.
Way better.
Too.
His creative process has changed entirely. He literally goes, he's nomadic. He'll rent like a house for 3 or 4 months at a time.
Sure.
Like, and then like create a wave.
Because he was up in like Utah for a little while too.
Dude,
wasn't
he's like working with Post Malone a ton. Like, they have a song together. I've heard it, unreleased song, dude. It is by far like a hit.
Wow, I can imagine.
It's a hit, dude. Like, and like, they just like can't get it released because of the clearances with the label, and obviously there's a stigma around him in the industry, which he knows about, which is just, but Post Malone, get on that. Talk to Mercury and Republic. I don't know what's going on over there. You figure that out, but there's just like a wave to that spiritualness to me, like, and I just like, it attracts me to it. You know what I mean? So if I feel like I'm being attracted to it and the universe is sending it my way, it's probably for a reason. You know?
No,
what I mean?
Absolutely, dude. It's funny you said that, because like when I first read that book, it was after as well one of the, I would say, the more difficult moments of my life, and I was by myself on a farm. This is gonna sound crazy, but I was by myself on like a 100-acre farm in upper state New York, right up in the Adirondack Mountains. And I remember reading that on a porch, like with the sunset, watching the sunset, and just feeling, like you said, like I don't want to be corny and be like I was reborn, but there was like I would say like
you feel out of body.
It was a different perspective I came back with it as, and it's a book that I suggest anybody read it. It's really quick read if you're going to just read it in one sitting, but you can also like.
It's a book to go back to.
Exactly.
Like, it's a book to like annotate, read. Like, I'm a big journaler now too.
Yeah,
like, to be completely transparent, I've been kind of off the last 3 weeks. I haven't been doing it as much, which I got to get back on. I'm a big advocate for that. You journal, like, you don't realize how much it changes you, and then you stop doing it for 3 months, or not 3 months, 3 weeks or whatever, and like, you're like, I feel awful, homeboy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so you don't even realize the power and effect it has on your mind. And but that's that out of body. I'm so glad that you had that experience too, because that's exactly how I felt.
Love that book. I did the same thing, and I think like again, it's something that you could easily, like you said, go back to, but depending upon where you're at in your life, you can actually have a different perspective on it. So
for sure, it hits everybody differently. Like I said, I haven't even finished it, bro. I'm still working on the first law, and like, to be completely honest, like, I haven't like read it really, like, obviously all the way through, but like in the last like month, and like, but like, it's stuck. Like, the fact that I haven't read it that I haven't read it in a month, and it's still like is sticking in my head of like, I gotta get out and spend time in nature. I gotta get out and like, you know what I mean? I gotta like do these things.
It's important.
Like, and to me, like, taking my dog for a walk around the neighborhood, like, and like, just like, there's like so much mental clarity I get like in just being out in nature.
It
and
matters,
like,
man.
and being
it really
alone.
Does.
Yeah, we're also just constantly surrounded by noise too. That's like a big thing too. Is like nobody takes the time out of their day to sit in silence, bro. And that sounds nuts to people. Like that sounds nuts. Like if you were like, "Yo, have you ever sat in silence for like 20 minutes?" They'd be like, "What?" Like they'd be crazy.
I've been
like,
doing that more, honestly.
dude,
like after a long day of work, I actually drive home in silence.
How beneficial is it?
I love it.
Okay,
It actually it actually resets me a little bit because if I had a long day at work. And like again, I'm constantly talking. I'm constantly asking questions. Sorry, answering questions.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where like again, some days I want to listen to music or listen to a podcast home. But there's more recently as I get older, I would say now it's once a week where I drive home in silence.
Dude, it's unbelievable. Like,
and I actually enjoy it.
Underrated play, like because like think about how, dude, our minds are so programmed to like. Noise 24/7, radio, music, podcast. Here, like
Videos,
even if
everything.
we're in silence in here, there's noise outside. So like finding a place that you can just sit down for 20 minutes and like focus on your breathing and like it really brings you down to this grounded level of like
it matters.
Yeah, maybe I'm just in my like spiritual era. I don't know but like
no man. I mean, I'm a huge hiker. I love being out in nature. I love yoga. Like there's like those types of things for me have really been a positive change in my life, and I feel them when I'm not doing them.
Yeah,
in a
100%.
negative way.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that if anyone takes that away from that, like you don't have to go do yoga and go hike
it's different for
the
everybody.
presidentials, but like like you said, it can just be simple as just taking a walk when you get up in the morning on a Saturday or a Sunday, and just it can be a half an hour. It's not.
There's a
it doesn't
program
have to be,
into it. Like,
absolutely.
It's like it could be waking up, making your bed the first thing you do.
Yeah.
Don't look at your phone for an hour. You journal for an hour. You read for an hour
Yeah.
before looking at your phone. It's your mind. If you really look into the science behind all of it, like there's a lot of like programmed kind of like noise that is always like we're so programmed to wake up. What's the first thing we do in our morning? Snooze our phone and then go on social media. That's or like answer texts or I am such a victim of that. Like I'm not a victim, but like I do it all the time. It's such a problem.
Same.
Yeah, and so like, but I've tried before like doing it, and you feel infinitely better. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me to think about. But,
it is.
Yeah.
But this is an awesome conversation. But anyway, great job. I think you scored pretty much an A on the pop quiz for sure. Those are some of the most thorough answers we've had on pop quiz. So well done. You did great.
I try.
Again, so now to circle back to Atherlace, because I think that's a big part of why you came on here. I mean, obviously we're having a good conversation, so it's fine. But yeah, so I want to bring everybody up to speed on what you guys are doing now. Obviously, you have 3 artists that are signed, correct? It's Dev Soter, Dylan, and CRONIN.
Yep.
And so talk to me a little bit about each of them and working with them individually. And then, of course, China Blue was as a former.
Yep. Super talented guy.
Yep.
Never take anything away from him. That guy's amazing. Like, yeah, I'll always have good things to say about the people that I work with. Like, because at the end of the day, it's an experience. And like I said, if I'm liking them as a person, if I'm working with them, I like them as a person. You know what I mean? And that's the most important thing to me. So,
exactly.
Certain things work out, certain things don't. And then like, but they'll always have a place in my heart. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody I work with. So,
I would big shout out to China Blue, okay, Seth. We love. I'm
shout out the new
huge
project, Fox Die.
Yes,
Fire.
yes.
That record's crazy.
It is a great record. You guys are killing it.
Yeah.
But so tell me about Dev and Dylan and CRONIN, because they're like obviously the 3 you're focusing on more now. And then I know you got a few new people on board with Atherlace helping you behind the scenes.
Yes.
So talk to me all about those things.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take it in waves. So with Dev, he's building his debut album right now. That's why people he's been off kind of the grid. People haven't really heard from him in a while.
Mako and I were actually talking about that recently. We're like,
dude,
where's Dev?
He's off the grid, but
I just heard it actually. He sent me like all the demos yesterday. I just listened to them on my way here.
Some of them, they're not like mixed and stuff, but dude, some of them have the potential to move.
Yeah.
Like, did you hear "Never Want to Go Home"?
I did actually.
The hook on that, dude, with like the instrumentation coming, dude,
it's great.
When it's all done
really,
and
really
mastered, I know it's in very early stages and it's hard to kind of hear like where it's gonna go, but I just know like this is gonna be
that beat drop almost
crazy.
That's in the
it's
middle
like a
of
Montel
it. It's pretty
Fish
cool.
like disruptive.
He's
like,
incredible, bro. I'm so glad you brought him up.
Oh, dude, Montel
Fish is
unbelievable.
amazing. That album last year that he put out was unreal.
Unbelievable.
Oh my
What's
God.
your favorite record on that album? I have such a unique take on that.
I'd actually have to go back to the track listing because I don't remember the names off the top of my head, but there was one in particular.
Are you talking about the one that just dropped or the one before that? Are you talking about Jamie or are you talking about the
Jamie?
Oh, okay,
you're
talking about Jamie. Okay.
Jamie, I think it was the second to last record on there where like similar situation where that beat drops and the guitars come in like super heavy. It's like the one song that's like cathartic.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually the title track. I can't quite remember the name of it off the top of my head.
I'm not entirely sure. It could be "Fall in Love with You," like or something.
That
like
one,
that.
that one's amazing too.
Yeah,
that one's a lot more just smooth and
Yeah.
and somber throughout. There's a song. It's the second. I know it in the track listing. It's the second to last song. I don't remember off the top of my
it's
head.
not off
and on
the
my
new-
phone on me.
It's not the
It's
new.
on
Do you
Jamie.
want me to look?
Yeah, look it up because it's the name of it's gonna drive me crazy.
Okay.
But it's the longest song on the project as well by time wise.
Incredible artist.
And he's
Incredible.
amazing,
Dude. That album that he just dropped.
I didn't like it as much, but it's pretty. I
know
like
Montel Fish fans like some of them felt that way. Like my business partner, who we'll get into in a little bit, like is the same way. He's just obsessed with Jamie and like
Jamie. I just loved the
Darlin'.
So
there's Jamie, Last Dance, Fall in Love with You,
Yep.
and I'd Go 1,000 Miles, Enough for You, Talk to Me, Falling Out of Love with You, Destroy Myself Just for You. Oh, he's going through it.
yeah, he was going
I
through
love
it.
Montel, Darling, and then I Can't Love You This Much.
It was Darling.
It was Darling?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. 100%
he's
Darling.
good. But that new record he put out, dude, was so disruptive. Like when Hotel first dropped and it went viral, dude.
Yes.
Like I was like,
I like that song a lot.
that song is crazy.
Yeah.
But for me, that was the viral one. It's got like 100 million streams already on
Yeah.
Spotify, I think. And to me, the best songs on that project were Escape and Altitude. Altitude's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like the frequencies of going up and down, and I don't know. He's got unbelievable talent, dude. It's crazy.
But I can see Dev almost like being on a similar wave in that sense of
Oh,
just like the type of music he's creating right now. I feel like he's in a good pocket of just like this really like lush indie rock that's like very toned down,
Yeah.
but then he can definitely get into a little bit more of like the what I was saying, we were talking about like that cathartic feeling.
Yeah.
So he does it. I think he's got a nice balance so far of what I've heard.
Yeah, the big sell on him is that he's so versatile. That was like
Right,
the big
because he can
selling
sing, he can
point.
rap, he can play music instruments.
He can rap. People don't know that. Like,
Oh
he's
yeah,
never
same with
rapped.
Mako. Like
Yeah.
Mako can rap.
Yeah,
Like
it's weird.
both of
It's
them
like-
can rap
It's so
well
weird
too.
to like say that because nobody knows that. Like Dev actually like used to be like obviously like a SoundCloud rapper or something like that back in the day. But man, that boy can spit.
Yeah,
like,
he
it's
can
weird.
rap his ass
But
off.
he's one of those kids. He knows. He's like, I'm never gonna do it because
Yeah.
like he just doesn't want to. Like
Right.
because
And
he's
his-
so passionate about the indie stuff that
But I'm excited for his debut. He's gonna be
dude,
great.
it's gonna be crazy, man, and it's just like we're taking the proper way in time to do it, like doing it right. Like doesn't matter if it takes a year to make, 2 years to make. Like we're building it out. Like
Sure.
we want to build
No.
it out. If we're gonna do the debut album,
Gotta
like,
do it
we
right.
want to do it right. Like
Yep.
like what's gonna happen in the 2 years of like what his monthly listeners will go down 30,000? Who cares? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it doesn't matter. Like he's so talented
In the
and
grand
just,
scheme
like,
of things,
Yeah,
absolutely.
like it don't matter. Like. But,
And then I'm a huge fan of Dylan too. His stuff,
Thanks, man. He's
Is This
so
How It All Falls Apart, is still one of my favorite songs from last year.
that song, the way that song like moved was crazy, dude.
So good.
Great. You want
If
to
you
hear?
have-
You want to hear an inside scoop on that song?
Please.
So that song was super personal to him. Very, very, very personal story to him. And he, believe it or not, I was like, obviously as a manager, sometimes you like manager requires being like 9 different jobs. You're a babysitter, you're a marketing genius, you're an A&R, you're like, you're doing 9 different things. And like, so sometimes I have feedback for the music, but I'm never the type of guy who's like, you have to do X, Y, and Z. Like that's really on the artistry side of things. I'm never going to do that, but
Sure.
I can be
me too.
I'm like, oh, you could build the bridge up a little more, like just like little things here and there. So I told him, I was like, yo, I really think that you should belt out that second verse like crazy. And he's like, nah, it's perfect. And I'm normally like, okay, like if that's what he wants, that's what he wants. So we dropped the song as is, and this is actually a great segue into working with different artists and understanding how to be a manager with different artists. Certain people you're very hands-on with, and certain people just like they have it on raps. They just need certain holes that you need to fill for them. You know what I mean? And that's how it is with Dylan. And he just like was like, this song's perfect. I really believe in it the way it is. And we drop it. And first week it did like pretty good. He had a little bit of TikTok engagement, nothing crazy. It was like I think the biggest video he had on TikTok for that specific song was like 18,000 views, but the engagement was crazy. So it was like 18,000 views, but it had like 2,000 likes and like 300 comments, which is like, if you do the conversion ratios on that, that's like a lot of
Sure. No, that
engagement.
definitely is a lot of engagement.
So it wasn't even like he had a viral like TikTok or whatever. Like it was just like everybody like genuinely felt
Like they
like
liked
so
the-
intimate with the song. It's
Right.
such an
It's
intimate
so
song.
good.
And like then I'll never forget, like we were at that was the first song we ever worked on together, believe it or not.
Sure. Wow.
And so we drop it. Does like okay the first week. Drop it on a Wednesday. All right. Does like 1,000, 1,500, which is like, I don't know if people know this, but if you're like an independent artist, dude, it is so hard to get like 1,000
Oh,
streams.
the
without,
first
like,
1,000's key. I mean, if you can get that
crazy,
first
dude.
1,000,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
it's hard to do that too.
It's very hard.
It's a very like underrated thing to do. And
Oh,
so
100%.
then the week after, I get an email late Tuesday night from our people over at Sparta. Hey, does Dylan have any pictures, like higher quality pictures? We try to take the ones from his Spotify, but they're a little too grainy because he's got that grainy feel to him.
Yeah, he does.
And they were like, I'm like, yeah, like let me grab a few. I'm like, they're asking for a reason. They're not just asking for, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like, do you mind telling me what this is about? Like, and they're like, yeah, our guy at Audio Salad, I think who like they distribute through or something like it's like another platform, like a Dash Go or something like that. Like, they're like, yeah, like they for a list feature. I don't even know what that. I didn't at the time. Like, I don't even know what the fuck that means. The fuck's that? Like, what is a list feature? You know what I mean? Like, and then they're like, oh, like a cover of a Spotify playlist. So I knew the night before that he was gonna be the cover of Fresh Mounds Pop, and I was like freaking the fuck out because it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, this shit updates in like an hour, like so. I ended up hitting him up. I was like, dude, you're going to be the cover of a Spotify playlist. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, that was my first ever situation like that. And so, like, with somebody on the cover, like, we've had people hit editorials, but the cover is fucking a whole different thing. So, hits cover Fresh Finds Pop. Fucking crazy. Then lands on the regular Fresh Finds. And believe it or not, never got playlisted on any other editorial after that. And then months after the release, it was doing like, not to give away his numbers, but it was doing like 15 to like 25K a day. All organic, algorithmically, and the saves were going up like constantly. Jeez. So then
but that song is worth that.
And then the next week, MTV picked it up randomly. I don't know. Shit. I don't even know if you remember this. So we still to this day have no idea how like that happened. So because we reached out to Sparta, no one at Sparta could give us an answer. I know, you know me. I work a lot on the press side of things too. I was like, I ain't taking credit for this because I know nobody at MTV. Like, yeah. So I'm like, I don't know how it happened, and I'm grateful that it did because it was amazing. But like, yeah, I was like on Twitter, and like I saw like the real MTV account, not like MTV something, like real MTV. It was like Demi Lovato, Troye Sivan, a few other like 4 like huge artists, and then it was like Dylan with his like 130 followers on Twitter. Is this how it all falls apart? Oh, sorry about that, but like, is this how it all falls apart? And I'm like, what the?
That's insane.
Fuck? It was weird as fuck.
Insane.
Like, and it was awesome. It was such a humbling experience for me because I was just like, holy shit, like this is MTV. I grew up watching these music videos on fucking Channel 29 on Comcast. Like, so it was fucking crazy to me, and like I'm so grateful for that because like I don't know, it was just a really unique experience, and then the song just moved on its own. You know, great music really does shine through, man, when you're doing the work, and that's just
he's got a good aesthetic. I like his
he's
like
versatile too, man.
Yeah, I like his stuff a lot.
He's like his production too. He produces everything himself too,
oh, I know.
Which is crazy because like
I can see it. It all sounds like it's coming from him.
Yeah, and it's also a thing too where like you don't have to drop 30 songs to triple, quadruple your monthly listeners. Like, and
you guys have a really good one.
So this is a great segue into like how I work with different artists. Is like he taught me. I learned a lot working with him. Of like, you don't need to be as hands on with everything, and you like just have to trust the artist sometimes, and you have to be able to like work in different lights with certain people. Definitely. With him, like that was the case, and just like. We put out only 2 songs. I say we, so he put out only 2 songs, but like we're a team, obviously. But like in 2022, when's the last time you've been honest with yourself? And is this how it all falls apart? When's the last time it's about to come up on 500K and less, like in like 8 months? Is this how it all falls apart? Is nearing 3 million in just over a year. Like, and like,
it's crazy.
Not to say that those numbers really mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. Like, but it quadrupled his monthly listeners. Like when we started working together, I think he was at like 10,000 monthly listeners. Like he's been hovering around like. He was at like 235 before the new song dropped. Wow. So it was just like one of those things where you're like, wow, like every artist is different, man. They got their lane, like they can figure it out. And there's so many artists out there that we don't even really know that have millions of monthly listeners. You
exactly.
know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's like you come up on this artist that you haven't even heard of, like, and you're like, oh my God, they have millions of monthly listeners. Like, how have I not been tapped
where
in?
have I been?
Where have I been? Exactly. Yeah. And then CRONIN, who's originally a Swampskit guy and is now out in Seattle, and you've been working with him closely. So, and he just had obviously a song with Sammy Adams last year, and then he had the new one's doing well as too, right? The one he just dropped kind of recently.
The remix of it or Dance Again?
No, Dance Again.
Yeah,
right?
So he dropped the remix actually 2 weeks ago of Who Do You Love with a few of the guys. You know, Big Night Live. Obviously, we talked about that earlier. A few of the guys that are in the circuit of the Big Night Live DJ scene because he's like kind of moving in this like dance wave of like EDM, like,
right.
But not Dance Again, man. There's still so much life to push that record.
I think so too.
It's a catchy record.
It's catchy,
bro.
yeah.
Everybody, it's funny because like the save rates are like incredibly high for like a song that only has like 25,000 streams. So it's one of those where like we're just trying to find a way to get it in front of more people, like which is just on the content side of things. You just got to be pushing it on TikTok Reels and stuff like that. So it's one of those things. It's one of those records that like properly pushed would go. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah,
so bouncy.
it is, and
Yeah.
I think with the warmer weather coming in this area, I feel
Very
like
good.
I think
Yeah.
you're gonna get a lot more like traction with it, especially with he's being somebody that's from around here. So
For sure.
no, that's
For sure.
awesome, man. Like, and I said, those are 3 artists that I think are like all really have great opportunity to really
Different-
make different, but
different lanes too, which is like cool
which
to
is cool.
me,
They can
you
all,
know?
but they all can definitely make their splashes. I feel like in
Yeah.
their own and have in their own rights.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean? So
awesome.
it's really great to see.
Yeah.
And then on the management side of things, like you have a couple new people working with you. Like talk to me about them as
Indeed.
well.
Indeed. So Lou, who I talked about earlier, is one of the behind the scenes guys. He's like my best friend. He's like the most intelligent human I've ever met in my life, emotionally, musically, just like his. And it's weird too because he's so much younger than me. He's probably like 21, 22, and I'm like not so much, but like he's probably 21, I'd say, like
Yeah.
22. We grew up playing baseball together.
Okay.
Unbelievable athlete. This kid was an unbelievable athlete. He was like 14 playing with my AAU team when we were 17.
Shit.
He's
Also, he was legit.
He's fucking nasty. He was nasty. Like, and so shout out Lou, but he's just so intelligent. He's like, everybody needs that guy that like has got to. You need one person in your life that believes in you almost more than you do.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
He's
me.
that guy
like,
for you.
He's that fucking guy.
I got somebody like that myself.
I would walk in a room if he was with me, no matter who was in the room, I would feel confident doing whatever because he's just like one of those guys who lifts me up. Like,
Sure.
And he's an incredible human being and just like such an intelligent guy. And so I envy him too in the right of like just he's so calm. You know what I mean? Like just like so calm. Like of just like yeah, man. Just chill. Like he's like one of those guys, and like so he's like incredible to work with. It's easy to work with, and then the new partner is Dominic Pastorelli, who is just this unbelievable hustler type. Reminds me like a lot of kind of like myself when I was starting out. Like he actually kind of has more of like a music background. Like he had a corporate co-op with like I was talking to you off camera about with Pulse Recording and Publishing, who have some incredible publishing contracts with like artists like Ecstasy and a few others. They just signed a huge artist recently. I forget who it was, but. Long story short, like I met him through he manages a producer, this guy named Danny Vintage, who's now technically under the Atherlace umbrella, who you know Dev's song Wasted with Stefan?
Yes.
He produced the entirety of
Oh,
the song.
no shit. Yeah, I love that song.
That's how we met. He went to Northeastern, he was kinda on the come up in the Boston scene, and there's a few when you're in the Boston scene and you're kinda like you know it with Mako and stuff and you got like some stuff going on, like you tend to know a lot of the people in the Boston scene because it's such a smaller space, like
Absolutely.
with the indie. So like Greg Gaffney and you know a few of the other people in Boston, like he had been like in touch with Seamus Faye, like a few, you know what I mean, like these really kind of like household names in the Boston scene, and like that's kind of like how we got our connect, and they started working on the record together. I heard the record, I was like, this is crazy, like and so we went over to his producer's house in I forget exactly what part of Boston it was. It was like over by Northeastern, it's probably like Mission Hill or something like that.
Sure.
And we went over, worked on, we just chopped it up for like 8 hours, worked on, wasted in the studio, and like I was just like, I really like this kid, like he's fucking awesome, go-getter, like great ear for music. He fills a lot of holes in my management side of things that like I need, I feel like, and with taking the next step. Like he is the biggest show guy. Like the biggest show. Like he'll go to underground shows like 2-3 times a week.
Wow.
So he's out there networking.
So he's
getting
seeing the lay of the land. Like
he's unbelievable with it, man. He's unbelievable with it. He's so saucy with just like the show networking. And for those of you who don't know at home, I have epilepsy, so some shows I'm not able to go to. I'll be like if my artist is performing, and obviously if we're at a big night, like I can be backstage. Like you know what I mean?
Sure,
Like
but you just can't be like
I've been at
immersed in it,
shows like that where I'm backstage. I just can't be at, which kind of sucks because it's like, dude, my artist is playing this fucking sick venue and whatever. But like. So he fills that gap for me because I needed that. I needed somebody at the shows, networking, grinding, and also too, he kind of comes from a different land of music than I typically tend to. I feel like I lean more on like the indie rock, indie pop side of shit, and like he's very like underground hip hop, kind of like digicore. So like Midwest, like he loves like Babytron and like those guys, and like he's like got that like cool shit going on, and I forget who like just a few of those artists in those like hyper pop-ish kind of digicore like underground hip hop land, and like. He loves to like mosh pit and shit like that. Like he's fucking crazy, man. Like his like it's so funny. His Gmail picture, like whenever we like have a Google Meet with like where we're having a strategy meeting or a content meeting with one of our artists, or like we're trying to sign somebody, like his Google Meet every time I send him an invite. Ooh, sorry, I keep doing that, but his Google Meet every time he sends invites, him stage diving at like a Boston event. It's so like you'd think he was like a rapper, like he's not.
That's
like
awesome.
It's like Yeah, so.
But it's good that you're building a team that has different.
I needed another guy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You take that
yeah.
bandwidth to like somebody else that could, really help take it
huge.
to the next level.
It's huge. No,
Yeah.
and to build that team. So that's awesome, man. Well, you're doing so many great things with Atherlace, and I think you guys are really moving in a great direction, and it's just been awesome to see your growth throughout the years. I got time for one more question for you. This is the open response.
Okay.
And now typically we do the dream song scenario, right? Now, instead, I'm gonna do the dream management scenario. Where, of course, Dev, Dylan, and CRONIN are a big part of what you do. But if you could manage or manage and put 3 artists on Atherlace, like manifest that three new artists on Atherlace,
Even if they're big and signed and stuff
yes,
like that? Okay.
who would it be?
One, Dijon. You know who Dijon is?
I do, yeah.
That guy's
Super talented.
incredible. That might have been the best. Again, like people subjective, whatever, but the best indie project I've heard.
Yeah,
forever.
that shit was
Absolutely,
phenomenal.
there was
Yeah.
not a skip on that record.
No, that record's great.
So him for sure, just because there's something about that music that moves me, dude. And like I said, I come from a place that is more
Super in the same lane of Montel Fish too. In a lot of ways.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like I come from a place that like is so opposite of that, like uppy tempo, pop-ish, kind of like not now, but like before. So for me to be so intimate and like love something like that is like special to me. You know what I mean?
Like more ballad style.
Yeah. So
all right, so
Dijon
Dijon.
for sure.
You get 2 more.
Ooh, all right. I'll go a little bit more mainstream with this. I'd love to like have Justin Bieber, bro. I know that's such a corny ass fucking answer, but like, I don't know, bro. Something about Bieber's tight, man. He's got a lot of shit going on with like the clothing side of things too, and just like being along for his ride. I feel like he'd teach me.
He's
a lot
done well
of
for
game.
himself as of late.
Oh, I think you could just say teach me a lot of game. The industry blew up so young, and he's been through literally every phase of. So it would be that's more of like a curve where like I would get like more out of like the management side for myself. So it's a selfish reason, but like obviously he's extremely talented. Like no one takes that away from him. And then the third would probably be like one of the kids that he's kind of like coming up with, which is like a prodigy of his, Eddie Benjamin. Do you know who Eddie Benjamin is?
I'm not familiar.
Look up Eddie Benjamin when you get home, man. Eddie Benjamin. So he did this. I got put on to Eddie Benjamin watching a Justin Bieber documentary, and he was like playing guitar. And I was like, damn, this kid's look is phenomenal. Like the way he dressed, the amount that he was shredding on the guitar. I was like, who is this kid? I thought he was just like someone in the band. And then I found out he was like 17, 18 in the documentary. And then they brought it up like Eddie Benjamin, like other artists. And also like, I don't know if you know this, but like Justin Bieber like does a lot of shit like that. He's always giving cosigns to
He
like.
did it with Anise recently, or in the last year. And then his song blew up.
Yep, dude. Like
yeah.
Dwellers too. He did it with Dylan Bourne, Born Indie, like Born Creatives. He's got like Jaleel, Dwellers, Kamo, who's like a hyperpop digicore kid.
I don't think so. I'm not
You
familiar
should
with
look
all.
him up.
Yeah. I'll have to do a little deep dive.
A really good manager in the music scene, and like obviously, do you know who Jaleel is or no?
I don't.
You don't know the Pop and Jaleel? Like Jaleel, yeah. You know that guy? The huge jack guy.
Maybe
that
if
does,
I
like,
saw him, I don't.
You've probably seen clips of him. He's like huge jacked guy that does like backflips off stages at Rolling Loud.
I don't think so.
You look it up.
I'd have to look it up.
He's so sick. Like,
Awesome.
but yeah. Wait, where were we going with that? I don't even remember where we were going with that.
You were just talking about Eddie Benjamin.
Oh, Eddie Benjamin. Yeah. So and then I listened to the first record he put out, and it was called like "Fuck My Friends" or something like that. And I was like, you can hear it when somebody is like a musician, not an artist, but a musician.
Yeah,
like
they can compose. And do, like, all the
he
things
does like that side of things, and like I'm like
the performing side of things.
Like he's like if I saw him live, I'd be like, I just wouldn't even have to know. I wouldn't even have to see him live. I would just know that he'd be.
You would know that he was.
live.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude,
For
crazy.
sure.
Like, that'd be quite the lineup, man. But
Dude, yeah, you gotta get hip to him though.
I will.
listen to
No,
him.
absolutely. Please, will do.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome, bro. This has been such a great episode. Like, I'm so excited to have you down here. I'm really glad we did this. It's awesome. Like, I interview a lot of different artists and producers and things like that. But it's great to actually get like a manager and someone that's kind of doing on a similar wave as me. I feel like there was a lot of great conversation, and just obviously naturally the things that came up. And I'm so excited for what you're doing, and all the things you got going on with Dev and Dylan and CRONIN and everything else that's going in the future. So I'm really excited for you, and congratulations on all the success. And I'm super pumped for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, man. As always, this is the time to plug away. So tell everybody where they can find you, socials, and all that stuff.
Word. Also, first off, just want to give a huge shout out to you for having me here, man.
Yeah,
This
of course.
place is incredible. AOAstudios.org. But I'm just
it.
like, this is an unbelievable space here. Thank you so much for having me. It was long overdue. I'm not even gonna plug myself. I'll plug like my mom. Shout out my mom. Shout out my family. Shout out my friends. Like, I'll do that. I'm not here for PR reasons. I'm here to, chop it up with the homies. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do so. But
Yeah.
shout out my mom and shout out my dad.
I love that. I love that. Well, if you're a fan of Tyler, an Atherlace, or any of the artists on the Atherlace management side of things, and you're just coming on to us for the first time, which would be kind of shocking, but maybe you guys aren't familiar and hip, which is fine. You can follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram, TikTok. Hit up our website, www.turntableteachers.com for that one.
Sponsored by Cheez-Its.
We hope. For all the latest podcast episodes, blog articles. We also got master classes in full swing right now in that album. So we're definitely things are going. Things are coming along with that.
Yeah.
And of course, as always, at AOA Studios, if you are an artist or creative podcaster, whatever it is, even a small business, if you need marketing or recording support, videography, event spaces, we kind of do it all here. Head to our website. You can check out some clips and some photos of the space and the list of services that we offer. Head to aoastudios.org, which is all that can be linked in the description. Once again, Tyler, thank you so much for coming down here. This was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it.
I'm Mike. This is Tyler with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turn